Hello, my name is Rami, frogbear.zo, and this video is going to be special report. No, not really. Um, Only because I did a little more perusing on the interwebs on the term eugenics, just kind of like loosely and just rolling through with it. And I discovered this video from InfoWars of all places. Um, I think I linked it in the Telegram. I definitely need to link it in the description. I didn't do that I didn't think that far ahead because I just hit stream. Uh, Essentially, this dude actually puts together all the research to the Carnegie, the Rockefeller Foundation, and like various other people that kind of point to. How do I say this? Let me just play a little bit of it.
Absolutely authoritarian in its bent. Now, the Rockefeller Foundation and other major funds developed the Norplant implant, which would do just what this quote described, prevent people from being able to reproduce without government authority. Now, there's also something even more wicked developed by the Population Council, funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, all backed by the Rockefeller family. Starting in 1968, they looked at how to produce vaccines for male and then also female.
Yeah, I think that's as far as I'm gonna go with that video. You can see where this is all going, right? So I thought it was very interesting how Edwin Black, like these are loose dots that I'm connecting, where I'm just like, this whole eugenics movement is very deeply rooted, and it's not the scientists, it's not the schools, like that's not who I'm blaming here. Like what I'm blaming are like these dudes, these people, because clearly they're the ones paying the think tanks. They're the ones paving the way for the research because who has the money, right? Like who's incentivizing all of these fucking dweebs to do the research? It's these dudes with all the money. So the way, what else was I gonna say about this? Right, just read the first thing. For a study, a mobilizing factor. So the whole looking at this and looking at the side effects that we're currently looking at with the new medicine technology that we're being pushed and promoted. Now looking at the side effect, it's almost like, oh, this was intended. Like this wasn't just a, oh no, it's a side effect. Like we were just trying to poison you. No. Like it was a full-on intention. And then I think I showed that video last night where it was Dr. Faucino, where he was talking about where, oh, like we can give vaccines out throughout these years, but oh no, what if it takes 12 years to find out if there's side effects or serious side effects? Who knows? Largely because this is a new kind of tech one, RNA. And if you know anything about RNA, recessive genes, because I've been looking into, right, so my thought process was when I was looking into Madison Grant was, at least looking into what their proteges did. Like, who did they teach? Who were they professors of? Who did they pick to be their proteges? And da 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 da. And you tend to find out that a lot of them were very obsessed with the idea of recessive genes. And I don't know. Looking at how the food industry has gone, which is very interesting, right? Because in this video, Harry Kissinger has a quote talking about how the U.S. aid program, it's like a U.S. Food program, where like he details out in one of the reports where like, oh, we should get all these people dependent on us for food, so then we can leverage that over them when they don't want to meet our quotas. I was like, oh, very interesting how that kind of, we see that a repeating pattern. They're using modern day facets of control to push through the same plan written a century ago today, right? Because all of this stuff was planned and thought out from the early 1900s to the 1920s. And you know, does history repeat or does it rhyme? Very interesting, because a lot of the way I see it, when you have people who are influenced by a very small subset group of people that consider themselves experts, uh, depending on the kind of individual and depending on the quality of the person, depends on how much like circle jerking kind of happens. Like, stroking of egos, this and that, and like perusing your way up through the social hierarchy in such a way that, you know what I mean. Whatever, Deva. Why did I say that? I don't know. Modern day facets of control. So the Georgia Guidestones, right? While I was watching this, it made me think about, well, if these are plans, and I can't remember why the Georgia Guidestones came into my head, but it made me think. Oh, because there was no time capsule, right? I did have this. Hold on. Like, crop this very terribly on the stream. Maybe you should just record the video and like edit it. It's too much time. It's too much time. No time capsule found at a site of Georgia Guidestones. They're saying that maybe there was never a time capsule to begin with, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, that's not what I think it is. I think the Georgia Guidestones was probably set into place as a, like, you ever been in a building and seen the glass and it's kind of like etched into too, so you could just be like, break in case of emergency. So when you smash that glass, break in case of emergency, I think that's what the Georgia Guidestones are. In a weird, loose way, the Georgia Guidestones could be that, not for our side of the faction, but for their side of the faction. And I don't know. It got me to think very heavy on this. Not a very nice episode, but whatever. Break in case of emergency. Well, this dude details a deeply rooted sense that this was always a contingency plan. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just sit on research and do nothing with it. And by the looks of how they, you know what I mean? Like, what was it? Event 201, with how they handled that simulation, and with the fact that these people own corporations. Like, if anybody's invested money, time, and research into creating handbooks, into creating what do you call it, implementation phases, like when a company goes through upgrades, like there's a process that it comes along with. Like, corporations are incentivized to have this sort of research, to have these sort of handbooks, and with the way that they've groomed people out of colleges and out of research institutions, and sometimes they'll just poach people out, like straight out of other people's companies who are not operating on the same realm. Very weird. I don't know if anybody will follow through with what I'm trying to put down there. Deeply rooted contingency plan. Justice was privy, I'd imagine, the educated upper. Oh, right. So Oliver Wendell Holmes, I think I mentioned him. Oliver Wendell Holmes was a Supreme Court justice, was very privy to the idea of eugenics as a form of law, right? He called it eugenics is the law of the land. So if he was, right, this is a justice, if he was somebody that was considered educated, like, how much was the science of eugenics at that time kind of pushed through these schools? But I don't know. Report and details out food control systems, right? I talked about Kissinger. Probably look for that, maybe. Got their foot in the door with environmentalism, right? It all started with, we got to think about the environment. We got to really think about how we need to control our food and this and that. I could just imagine how all that played out. Implementing forms of population control. 1953, The Impact of Science on Society. Oh, that's a book by Bertrand Russell. Can't remember why I quoted that. Probably because I wanted to show a video. I don't know. 1970s. Oh, right, Ecoscience. You saw the cover of that book. It was the 1970s Ecoscience. Suggests a centralized system a centralized system where all the food will go to this central location, and they will then dictate rations for everyone else. Like, oh, get in line? Like, what? Oh yeah, rationing. Weird to think 100 years ago today. Right, they were already thinking about all of this as a form of as a mechanism of controlling the American population. But the way they saw it was like, hey, they're doing a good enough job. We're making money off of them as a product. Weird when you think about it like that. Focused on sterilizing large groups of feeble-minded. Socialism has come to America? Question mark. Well, it's always been socialist. I made that joke about how like America was always socialist to begin with, but not socialites versus the citizens, right? Just because the reason why I could never really get mad at any one particular group of people is because they all live inside of their own bubbles. I live in South Central, like, as I don't know if you can hear the sirens, but right, like that's just the environment I grew up around. And when I look at somebody else who isn't used to these sounds, used to the noises or any of that, right, they have an awareness to these scenarios. So it's kind of why I say when somebody goes to visit Israel, some of the like something very foreign to a Westerner is hearing like the air raid sirens. When they hear air raid sirens, they hear explosions off in the distance, or they see fighter jets reacting to something, like it adds to their experience. It adds to that reality. Actually, I found I just recently, YouTube algorithm sometimes sucks dog ass, but this time around I recommended somebody very interesting who, I don't know, I would consider him somebody very into the woo-woo of social paradigms. But I don't know too much about him. But either way, he was talking about how everybody kind of lives in their own reality, and a social tactic he uses is to know that everybody is experiencing their own reality. And instead of breaking that fourth wall, he'll just add to it. He'll add value to that experience, and it's just the way that he likes to socialize out in public. I don't recommend doing that. Just because, I don't know. I just don't like going out. But, okay, so this is a very terrible story, but in this garage, I had two friends. And these two friends came from very different backgrounds. One of my friends was Asian and came from a very gated community. And my other friend was a cholo who lived across the street from me. He moved now. Classic story of has a kid, wants to change his life, da da da. Very happy for him. But at that time, my Asian friend brings over his AR, and we're here in the garage just kind of kicking it, talking about BS. And my buddy's like, "Hey, can I bring out want to show your friend to see how his reaction?" And my cholo buddy's kind of like, "What the hell's going on?" So hands him the gun, and his reaction is elated. It's like, "Oh shit, what the fuck?" This and that. And whatever, like he has his experience, and then he has to go because his baby mama's calling him, da 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 da. Why did I say baby mama? He goes, and then my buddy, while he's gone, he waits a while, right? Because he doesn't want to. We're Asians, very peculiar with their choice of words. He starts going off like this motherfucker didn't have trigger discipline, da 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 da. And I got mad at him. I'm just like, dude, you're, no offense, like, yeah, you're supposed to know about trigger discipline. Like, there are things you're supposed to know when handling a firearm, and that's right. When you're educated about it, when you have the sort of experience that not the sort of experience, the sort of what do I want to call that? You know what I mean? Like, not everybody will go out of their way to know how to properly handle something, especially somebody from the streets. So I told him, like, I understand your frustration, but you're attaching like you're attaching values that don't exist here. Like, I feel you, I understand you, and I can sympathize with you about how he didn't handle trigger discipline. But you're a bit delusional to think that somebody with his background would ever find himself in the situation where he's like, yeah, dude, I gotta earnestly learn how to handle my trigger discipline. That's not, you're living two different worlds. But I wish the conversation came out that nice and clean. Fuck no, we were yelling at each other. It was fucking hilarious. Because I got very angry. Because, I don't know. But then again, not many people understand social paradigms and like how somebody's reality is shaped by their environment and not, I don't know. I don't know. Very difficult ideas to explain in one video. How long am I in this? 15 minutes. I should already cut this short because I wanted to just talk about eugenics. I'm going to put the link in the description for this video because honestly, the video is really great. I honestly don't want to talk more about it because I was just doing loose research on this because I wanted to know more about it. But this dude already did all this research probably back in like what, 2008, 2009. Where's my finger? I don't even know. And he basically actually puts everything out. And the way I viewed this was I viewed it and then I came to the conclusion that these contingency plans, the playbook, this was always something that they could use in the playbook. And this is as old as influenza. This is as old as kind of like Catholic Jesuits coming into a town and locking it all down and da. Like, they learned that using medicine as a guise, people are willing to absolve like the ultimate amount of their autonomy. And you know what I mean? Because you get into this aspect of like, whoa, like this is a really serious issue. I don't know if I can handle it on my own. You know what I mean? They get you with these fear tactics. They get you in these catch-22s where you can't necessarily say no to it. I don't know. The woo-woo is very self-explanatory, right? Because the way I see it, these oligarchs, they've been monitoring us. They've been like, because I look at it as these are family dynasties, right? So if there's a grandfather put dad on game, and dad's already putting the son on game. And this is like the sort of game that they keep. It's why they have so many kids. Like, if you look at Nancy Pelosi and how many kids that lady popped out, it's like, oh, so you're allowed to pop out all these kids, but nobody else is allowed to pop out these kids. And when you get into the aspect of like, I don't know, the social paradigms and how they've installed these self-defeating mechanisms in our society in order for us to degrade each other as a whole, to make sure that we don't trust one another, we don't build anything meaningful with one another, right? Like the saying of, oh, don't do business with family. Meanwhile, all these motherfuckers in power are doing business with only family. I don't know. I always think about that sort of thing. So that was this video. I just called it special report because if I put the word eugenics in the title, I don't feel like YouTube would be very kind about that sort of thing. So thanks for watching. My name's Ramirez, frogbear.zil for crypto donations, and I don't think I have another video. I already did everything else. Pop out. How do I end the stream? Please.